This is a man's world.
You bet it is, son.
This is a man's world.
But it ain't nothing without a woman or a girl.
Hello, everybody. I'm Kenneth Molefe, and this is Man Cave. I'm so excited to be coming back with our new episodes. So we started this particular series last week. If not last week, we were talking about discerning of relationships, and it has been incredible. So we're doing part two today, and it's going to change your life. Another thing that's happening is that this particular Sunday will be a phenomenon. We are opening up church for whoever wants to join us physically, and it's going to be a life-changing experience. So just get a hold of us, be in contact with us, and the number is right on the screen. And please do remember this: you have to make sure that you bring your mask and you respect the COVID-19 regulations. And it's all about social distancing, sanitizing, and having your mask on at all times. And I mean, obviously, when you sit down, then you can start relaxing. I don't expect anybody to be having a mask on, whereas there is social distancing. But this is a great topic today. 7 ways to really deal with relationships. And listen, I want to promise you this: you cannot enjoy this and be exposed to this kind of content and fail as it relates to relationships. Jesus and the Word helps us with our relationships with the Lord. At the same time, it's relationships with other people. The entire work of reconciliation is based on relationships. It's reconciliation to God, reconciliation to ourselves, and reconciliation with others. So it's all about relationships. Relationships are pivotal. It took a vertical dimension to solve a horizontal problem, and that is a problem of relationships. So today, I want us to take some time to really talk about uh, the 7 tests of relationships. The 7 tests of relationships, and this is very pivotal and very important, because as you look at this, then you'll begin to realize that when we are talking about relationships, we're not talking about sprints, but we're talking about a marathon. You have to take your time as you run. You have to take your time as you engage. You have to take your time as you relate. You have to take your time as you grow, because relationships is all about growth, and it's progressive growth. It's not, instantaneous, immediate growth. It is progressional growth. You grow with time. You understand what I'm saying? So we're dealing with the 7 tests of relationships. The reason why I thought I should talk about this is because I thought about the threefold battle that an individual goes through. A threefold battle that every individual goes through. It's a battle from within, a battle from around you, and a battle from afar. So it's threefold. And I don't care from, what sphere of life do you come from and what you're faced with. Every individual is faced with a threefold battle. And that's why, we have to make sure that we're surrounded by the right people. And you cannot afford to have an atmosphere of negativity around you, because you're already fighting the negative on the inside. The inward battle is much more, vigorous than the outside battle. The external is always intensive the internal is always, intensive more than the external. And that's why it's very key that when you are dealing with relationships, you have to test. They must be tested. And that's why the name of our subject matter and series is Discerning Relationships, And the battle from within is the most complex, guys. When you have to fight you, when you have to fight your weaknesses, when you have to fight your fears, when you have to fight your phobia, when you have to fight, insecurities, inferiority complex, and even superiority complex, when you have to fight all of that, in order for you to accomplish what you need to accomplish. At the same time, you're dealing with people on the outside. You're dealing with people on the outside, and they have their own opinion of you. They have their own subjective thoughts of you. They have their own, conclusive, ideologies of who you are. At the same time, you're struggling with personal identity. You're trying to discern purpose. You're trying to manage, inward conflicts. You cannot afford to neglect all of that, because one thing that I'm aware of, if you then lose a battle on the inside, the battle from around you is obviously, lost. And the battle from afar will just get rid of you. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, that's one of the reasons why Jesus had the inner cycle, and he had the people managed by the inner cycle. And then the people that are managed by the inner cycle will manage the external people. So there is management of relationships in life, and you have to make sure that even before you get to manage anybody, every form of relationship you get into is tested. It has to be tested, because that which is not tested cannot be trusted. That which is not tested cannot be trusted. Oh, it's so pivotal. It's so pivotal. Let me just talk about this probably in the context of ministry. Paul talks about the thorn in the flesh, and then he talks about wrestling with beasts in Ephesus, and finally, then he talks about how, in certain cities, they actually were prepared for his coming, and says, I cannot come there because prophetically I'm made aware that if I get there, then I'll be arrested. And now he has to fight with the decision to go in the place that he knows there is an emanating attack, or an emanating, kind of war. You can just imagine. Number one, internally you're faced with a thorn. And, theologically, when they talk about a thorn in Paul's life, there are scholars who agree that this is in reference to personal infirmities, sins that he found himself continually doing, habitually, that he then had to wrestle with. You understand what I'm saying? That's a thorn in his own life. At the same time, there's a group of scholars who are saying, but no, this is a demonic entity that, he wrestled with. A certain demonic attack that he continuously had to endure. And he prayed three times and said, Lord, deliver me from this. And the Lord says, my grace is sufficient for you. Even when you talk about the sufficiency of grace, it's not the negligence of relationship management. You can't say, no, I'm just going to go into whatever relationship. His grace is sufficient. You can't do that. You have to test, relationships. So we're talking about the 7 tests of relationships, and it's very pivotal. Oh, please, you got to hear me loud and clear. It's very, very pivotal. That which is not tested cannot be trusted. So let's go. So when you're talking about the battle from the inside, and then the battle from around you has to do with the people that are the closest to you. In the life of Moses, it was Aaron and Miriam who at times misunderstood him, at times judged him, personally, and then, criticized him ministerially. You're dealing with his personal life and his ministerial life. But his personal life was a problem that it, to a certain extent, affected his ministry. And the people that were exposed to his personal life was Miriam and Aaron. I mean, these are, people that, we would say subjectively are to be trusted, But at the same time, these are the people that are giving him a battle. It's a battle from around him. At the same time, this man did not grow in his mother or his father's house. He grew up in Pharaoh's house. There is emotional attachment to, Pharaoh's wife, and there's an emotional attachment to the entire Egypt and its education and its system. Those are battles from the inside. Mama, why did you just let me go like that in the flow of the stream that I have to be raised by the enemies of Israel? Well, it was so that I can save your life. But then these are people that are killing my people, and these are the same people that raised me. So there is that inward conflict. Everybody is struggling with an inward conflict. Am I loyal to those who raised me, or am I loyal to those who begot me? It is an inward battle. I mean, you can just imagine, you can just, and he had to, he had to be faced with it on a day-to-day basis. And now an Egyptian and a Hebrew boy are fighting, and something on the inside says you have to be loyal to your own people. Now he kills an Egyptian and he lets go of a Hebrew boy, but the Hebrew boy is the one who exposes him. It's all about battles that you're faced with on the day-to-day basis, and that's why it's imperative that you test relationships. You have to design relationships on a day-to-day basis. Now watch this. Now when the battle from the inside is victoriously procured, you then have to deal with people around you. And then when you are dealing with people around you, now you have to deal with people from afar, because there are nations, there are companies. When you talk about a corporate world, for instance, in my case, you're talking about companies from around you. These are people you source services from, and people you service. And then there are companies from afar that are your competitors, who probably have relationships with people around you. And sometimes it's people around you that will open up on people from afar in order for you to be compromised, and give them insight information on how to go about, attacking you in the market. So relationships are very key. You always have to, look at signs of disloyalty. I mean, Jesus, for instance, was betrayed by somebody from around him. I mean, Jesus already had battles. When you look at the situation in Gethsemane, he already had issues with fulfilling the will of God, because the measure of pain was, let this cup pass from me. But the measure of destiny was, but not my will, your will be done. So you can tell there is a battle of divine will and human will. I mean, after all, he's the incarnate word. He is the son inside of the child. The child wants to live longer, and the son wants to fulfill his father's, purpose. So there is that battle. And then now he's dealing with Judas, who's around him. At the same time, there is, politicians, Pharisees, and Sadducees who wants to get rid of him. The battle from the inside, Gethsemane, the battle from around him, Judas, the battle from afar, you're dealing with, politicians and the Pharisees and all of that. It is an everyday battle in the life of every person that is alive. And that's why it's important who you allow in your space, because these are people that are going to help you. And this is the reason why he took Peter, James, and John when he was then going to pray. And he says, could you not be with me for 1 hour? Could you not stand with me for 1 hour? He is calling upon the relationship from around him to help him with the battle he's faced with on the inside. And yet the people, on the outside are not capacitated to stand with him even for 1 hour. Oh, please, you have to hear me loud and clear, and that's why relationships have to be tested. So there are 7 tests of relationships. Number 1, very important, it is called the test of time, because relationship benefits and grows through time. And what happens is, when you are infatuated, when you are caught up in the euphoria of personalities and people that you meet and all of that, you then, you rush to label the relationship. You rush, to be conclusive about the relationships on, this is who this person is in my life, because you're excited. You're caught up in the euphoria of their personality, their gift, and their connections, and sometimes even their money. Because the rich have a way of casting spells on people, for people to trust them very quickly. You understand? So there is the test of time. So one thing that will save you is if you understand that every relationship grows with the time. It is only time that will help you define and refine a relationship. Yesterday, I was sitting with such a wonderful reverend, such a wonderful pastor of a very beautiful church, and we were talking. And I said to him, I said, "Listen, I'm grateful that we were faced with with certain personality conflicts, so that we can get to know each other, so that we have an opportunity to define and refine our relationship. Because then I get to understand you better, you get to understand me better. That's relationships for you." Time is very, very important. Infatuated people most often make conclusions about relationships too quickly and later be compromised. The test number two is the test of knowledge. So, love grows out of the appraisal of all the known characteristics of the person, of the other person. You gotta know them. In all kinds of season, you have to know them through, bad season, good season. You have to know them through a season of winter, a season, a sunny day, a sunny season. You have to know them through, rainy and stormy season. You have to know them in all this kind of season, and how do they handle all this kind. So knowledge is very, very important. All right. So infatuation quickly decides it knows everything it needs to know about the other person. But you see, genuine relationship is an atmosphere of such interest that a person opens up like a flower. As they open up, as you get to know them better, the better you get to enjoy the splendor of their personality, and also embrace, the agony that comes with their weaknesses. So knowledge is very important. And there's such a thing, the Greeks talk about the word ginosko, that is experiential knowledge, is not necessarily revelatory knowledge. So you have to experience certain things in order to know certain things. Some forms of knowledge is as a result of experiences, and it's better to know it by experience. Especially when you talk about people, it's better to know them by experience than to know them about their PR persona. It's better to know them personally and by experience than to know them by other people's subjective testimonies. You understand what I'm saying? So knowledge is very important. Number three, the test of focus. Relationships is the other person centered and not you. You know that you're in a healthy relationship when you know what you are ready to give. But at the same time, you should have your expectations ever so clear. So infatuated individuals may be, in love with you, two and three other persons. I'm talking about in the context of romantic relationships. You understand? The test of focus is very key, guys. The test of focus. What is the focus? What is your focus in the? You see, some people have relationships with you because they want your money. Some people want, relationships with you because they want your resources and they want stuff from you. You cannot have a relationship with somebody who's gunning for what you have and not who you are. If you are going to be in a relationship with somebody, it has to be about what you are ready to give and what you are ready to open up to, not what they have. You understand what I'm saying? And that's how a lot of people get compromised. That's how because you don't know why this particular person is pursuing you. You're not taking time to discern, to test their focus. What is this person's focus? When I'm with them, is it all about taking, or is it about really enjoying me and getting to know me? And then if they have to then, get something, it happens, spontaneously. It happens naturally and not mechanically. You understand? So the test of focus is very important. So when somebody is pursuing a relationship with you, you have to discern what is their focus. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, come on, man. Come on, talk to me. As a gentleman, you know, um, when you're immature and you're hitting on a woman, you'll talk about her beauty. You'll talk about, the facetudinous splendor of her body. You'll talk about shape, her eyes, because that's what you focus. You want to enjoy that. You understand? But if you are holistically trying to get to know somebody, that becomes, an added, spice to what you focus on. You understand? Beauty is always subjective because you never know. You can be married to the most beautiful woman today, and tomorrow something happens to her face. And now you got to deal with that. You understand? So you cannot afford to focus on the ethereal. You cannot, the material. You cannot afford to focus on that, but you want to focus in knowing the persona, getting to enjoy the persona. So, what is the focus? What is the focus? Number four, the test of singularity, quote unquote loyalty, right? The test of singularity or the test of loyalty. So relationships has to be focused on one individual, and not just one individual. You have to know where you stand with one individual, and you have to know where people stand with you as an individual. That's why I'm talking about the test of singularity. If things were to go down here, will this person be loyal to me or be loyal to them? And there has to be small circumstances that proves to that effect. You can't be conclusive about it. You can't be emotional about it. You understand what I'm saying? Very, very important. In what ways have you realized it's easier to work on the problems in an existing relationships where singularity and faithfulness are maintained? So the maintaining of faithfulness and loyalty is very key. It has to be a maintained frequency. It cannot be dropping sometimes and going low, going high. So you have to be sure that, look, whatever happens, I know this particular person is going to stand with me no matter what. All right. Number five, the test of security. The test of security. Very important. All right. See, genuine love and genuine relationships requires and fosters a sense of security. If you are in a relationship with somebody and you're feeling insecure, you're scared, there is a sense of phobia, there is a sense of fear. You're not really sure what's going to happen the next day, the next season of your life. You're not really sure. Then you know you are going to have a problem. And the thing about relationships is you cannot be an infatuated individual that base their trust on the euphoria of what is happening then and then in the relationship. But you see, when you want to discern relationships carefully, what you want to do is you want to have careful consideration of what's really going on, and how am I safe as it relates to what's going on, who am I dealing with, and what makes me feel secure if I'm feeling secure, and what makes me feel insecure if I'm feeling insecure. Very, very important. You have to have a deep awareness of the other person's character, values, and track record. Very important. Before you jump in, you have to make few calls. This particular individual, when you guys were close, tell me about them. Are they loyal people? Are they faithful people? And what makes you feel that this person is going to stand with you through and through? And did they stand with you when you were going through your own struggles and your own personal confusion and all of that? It's very important. Very, very important. So security, the test of security. Number 6, the test of work. See, when you are dealing with work, it's quite interesting that every relationship at its beginning, people are excited. And therefore, they work too hard to maintain the relationship, to make sure that the other person is happy, and they want to make sure that there is constant communication and all of that. But then, what happens most of the time is, as time goes on, people then work on the relationship less and less. Let me talk about romantic relationships, for instance. You used to call me 7 times a week. Now suddenly, I have to send you a police call. You know what I'm saying? Now I have to send you a police call. Now I almost have to like 7 of your pictures before you recognize that I exist. I have to go to your social media handles and do some comments for you to call me. But if I don't do that, you don't work at it. You know, how you work at on the relationship at the beginning has to be maintained, or else you know that the relationship will not be healthy. So the test of work is very, very important. You know, people that are infatuated in new relationships, they often daydream of an unrealistic objective and deals that neither they nor their partner could ever eventually attain. You can tell that, oh, come on, wait a minute, man. This is just impossible. You know, the test of work. This is just impossible. But then people will, people are going to be so drawn to you at the beginning. But as time goes on, they don't want to work as much because they feel like they have you already. And that's why sometimes scarcity is one of the most, key ways uh, to maintain relationships. Don't be overly available to people that you really don't know. Don't be too overly available. All right. The test of work. Number 7, the test of problem solving. The test of problem solving. So I was so happy. Um, so I was so happy that one of the things that my wife, loved about me is the sit downs. If you have a problem or I have a problem, we sit down, we talk about it. At the beginning, it was a bit hard for her because she was coming from a background where there's no such a thing as problem solving. We're fighting all the way until we satisfied and then we move on. you know. So in my house, we talk about anything and whatever. Comfortable or uncomfortable to me or to her, we have to talk about it. You understand? So I want us to do a recap, okay? When you talk about spiritual relationships, for instance, you cannot afford to promote people too quickly in your space because you have such people as, your armor bearers or your right hand man. So that particular person to come into that space, to be that person that is around you, they have to earn that. And that's why even to this point, I tell people all the time that if you are going to go deeper than what I'm giving you, it has to take time. So time is very important. As a spiritual father, as a son in the Lord, you cannot afford not to allow the process of time to refine who is who. Because some people are going to ask you to be their covering, to be their mantle, for the purposes sometimes of exploiting you, of using you, or sometimes of getting to know about you so that they can tell the entire world. So the test of time is very, very important, as church leaders, as company, leaders. Do not allow people in too quickly. The test of time is very, very important. The test of knowledge, get to know, people before, you get on their face or do you allow them to get on your face? Very, very important, the test of knowledge. Number 3, the test of focus. If somebody asks you, 7 months ago to be their mentor, and today they're nowhere to be found, they're not communicating and all of, they're not serious, and therefore don't prioritize such people. You see, there are people right now who are going through a test, a testing process that I would then begin to open up to and pour into their life. But I'm going to pour into their life when I'm really sure that they're focused. They're not going to take a little bit from here, go there, take a little bit from there, go there, take. And the next thing, somebody is a confusion altogether. You understand? The test of focus, the test of singularity or loyalty. It's very, very important. It takes time to know who's loyal and who's really standing with you. Number 5, the test of security. And number 6, the test of work. If we are working on this relationship, my wife and I, my son and I, we got to make sure that we work on it consistently. So consistency is really, very important. They that are not consistent are neither or either going to be disloyal or never to be loyal. Test of work, the test of the test of security, and then the test of work, the test of problem solving. Very, very key, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very key. Very, very key. So take time to test your relationships. Get to know what's really going on. Because if you don't know what's going on around you, you are going to fail to manage it. When you're faced with problems, when you're faced with all of this that comes with just leaving, you're going to be entirely confused. This is Man Cave, man. We're trying to make sure that you manage relationships like the alpha male that you are. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at Kenneth Molefe Snr. Grace Life with Kenneth Molefe Snr. On Instagram, I'm Kenneth Molefe Snr. Please do follow our social media page. We are God Embassy, the Grace Life Church. On Facebook, make sure that you follow us and you're part of the reason. You are not our follower. You are family. And you, Man Cave brothers, you are all alpha males. And I'll see you next time on part 3 of managing relationships. I love you. God bless you.